So, Meshack and I have filed our 2019 tax returns and we received our tax refunds a couple of weeks ago, which officially means that our last tax season filing as single people is over. And as of next year, we will be filing as a married couple. In this video, I'm going to talk about how getting married is going to affect Meshack and I's tax situation for 2020. I'm also going to talk about some of the differences between married filing jointly versus married filing separately, and the things you can and can't do with the different tax filing statuses as a married couple. So if you're interested in that, make sure you stay tuned. Hey wealth builders, what's up? It's Akiva. Welcome back to another episode of The Bemused, where we are making sense of all things money for the bewildered and confused young adult. And if you're not already part of the squad, go ahead and hit that big red subscribe button and also hit the notification bell so that you never miss when we post new videos just like this one. For those of you who are new to the channel, just for context, my fiance Meshack and I will be getting married later this year. And so we have started thinking about how getting married will affect our finances, and specifically in this video, our taxes. So let's start with the basics. When it comes to filing taxes, there are only 5 federal tax statuses that you can choose from. Either single, married filing jointly, married filing separately, head of household, or qualifying widow or widower with a dependent. If you are married, that means you only got 2 to choose from, either married filing jointly or married filing separately. And your filing status is determined as of your marital status for the end of the year. So if you got married on December 31st, 2020, you will still need to file a married return for the tax year 2020. So Meshack and I will therefore either be filing married filing jointly or married filing separately for 2020. Now let's talk about our specific tax brackets. So right now, both Meshack and I fall into the 22% marginal federal tax bracket. And when we get married, assuming that all other variables stay the same in terms of income, we would still both be at the 22% tax bracket. So in that sense, there isn't necessarily a marriage penalty or an advantage. It's pretty much keeping things the same, whether we file married filing jointly or married filing separately. It's still all going to be the 22% marginal tax bracket. And just for reference, I'll link in the description box to a graphic that shows all of the federal tax brackets. Now let's talk about the itemized or standard deduction. So historically, Meshack and I have both just taken the standard deduction for our taxes, which for 2020, I believe is $12,400 per person. And if any of this sounds like gibberish to you, we have a video that we made last year breaking down exactly how taxes work, so you can become familiar with the terms like AGI and deduction and standard deduction, itemized deduction, all those things. You can actually understand how taxes are calculated and how they work. So I will link that video up here in the cards for you to reference, and then come right on back to this one. So neither Meshack or I usually have expenses that are high enough to worth taking itemized deductions, so we both usually take the standard deduction. And so that standard deduction is going to be the same whether we file jointly or whether we file separately. So far we're pretty much staying on equal footing as when we were single. One change Meshack made that will affect our taxes this year is that he actually opened and contributed to a health savings account, or HSA for short. Those contributions are made pre-tax, similar to if you were contributing to a traditional 401k plan. So the contributions he made to the HSA will reduce our taxable income, which it would have done anyway. It just would have been on his return versus mine. And so really it's just going to be combining the benefit. However, with getting married, the contribution limits are higher when you're married than when you are single, which makes sense. However, he doesn't contribute nearly enough to the maximum that it's even gonna affect us, at least this year, and so that's just a nice aside. Now, in terms of business gains and losses, as you guys know, I am an entrepreneur. I do have 2 businesses that I run on top of my 9-to-5. One being The Bemused, which is centered on our YouTube channel that you're watching right now. If you guys didn't know, The Bemused is a sole proprietorship. It is my company. So all of the expenses, all of the income, everything like that historically flowed through to my tax return. And previous to this, like last year, it was just losses because we weren't making money yet. But in 2020, now we are. And so I expect to at least have some type of profit from The Bemused this year. So Meshack will therefore reap any benefits of any business losses that we potentially have, or even the business income will also affect him because that will just roll up onto our returns, especially if we are filing jointly. One big thing that's really going to affect us going forward is the student loan interest deduction. As you guys know, Meshack and I are in an unspeakable amount of student loan debt. You guys already know the situation. Y'all already know what it is. So in 2019, I actually made enough income that I actually started to phase out from being able to take the student loan deduction. So I wasn't able to take the full amount because of my income. However, with a combined income, I don't think that we'll be in the phase out range anymore with Meshack and I's combined income, because I do make more than Meshack currently. If all stays the same, then we will not be in the phase out range anymore, and we'll be able to take advantage of the full $2,500 student loan interest deduction. However, the student loan interest deduction is $2,500 per return, not per person. So before, where I was getting my own $2,500 and he was getting his own $2,500 student loan deduction, if we do married filing jointly, it's $2,500 per return. So that's gonna kind of suck. And that's still better than married filing separately, because if you file separately, you can't take the student loan interest deduction at all. And so that's gonna cost us about $550 worth of tax savings, which is gonna suck. But like I said, it's better than married filing separate, because something's better than nothing. Another consideration is actually how we're gonna file our taxes. So Meshack and I have been doing our own tax returns for free for the past couple of years, either using free file software, through a TurboTax. I think last year I used H&R Block. This year I ended up using Credit Karma because my income was too much to use one of the federal free file programs, and Credit Karma allows you to file for free regardless of your income. So that's the software that I use to file my 2019 tax return. However, as you guys know, Meshack works in Maryland. He's a Maryland resident, and I work in Massachusetts. So therefore, if we file a joint return, we will need to file taxes in both Maryland and Massachusetts, because we both have income coming from 2 states. And one of the limitations of Credit Karma is that they only allow you to file a tax return in 1 state. So now we gotta figure out how we're actually gonna file our taxes, because all of our free options seem to now have been extinguished. But we're gonna do some more research on that and see what we can come up with for next year. So that'll be a fun little challenge. Now let's talk about some other differences between married filing jointly and married filing separately, and some of the things that you want to keep in mind if you are like us and trying to decide which filing status is better or more advantageous for you and your situation. In the vast majority of cases, it is better for couples to file married filing jointly, but there could be some situations where it makes a lot more sense to do separate returns. For example, if you just don't want to be liable for any foolishness that your spouse is doing to try to evade taxes, you may as well file a separate return so that you're not on the hook for tax evasion. And no matter what the tax benefit, you'd rather go the safe route. That's an option. That's maybe a consideration that you want to take into account when deciding if you want to file together or separately. Another important thing is education benefits. Like if you're in school and you're taking the lifetime learning credit or the American Opportunity Tax Credit, just know that you can't take those kinds of things similar to the student loan deduction if you are filing separately. Most of those education tax credits and deductions and benefits are nixed if you are filing separately. So keep that in mind. Another thing, and this isn't necessarily tax related specifically, but getting married is going to affect Meshack's student loan payments a lot. As you guys have heard us mention, Meshack's currently on the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, and so he is on an income-driven repayment plan. If we decide to file our taxes together, that means that they are going to then count my income along with his, and his payments are going to skyrocket up to the point where it doesn't even make sense to do the income-driven repayment plan anymore, because the payments are going to be much more than other plans, like the standard repayment plan even, when I did my my back of the napkin calculations. And so if we do file jointly, we just know that he won't be able to stay on an income-driven repayment plan anymore, which we're still discussing. I mean, I don't know, and I don't think he really knows either if he intends to stay in the public sector forever. If it's not something that he foresees doing for the duration of time, maybe we'll just bite the bullet and file jointly and just switch his repayment plan to something else that makes sense. Or A way to get around that would be to file separately so that my income isn't counted with his and he can go about his public service loan forgiveness journey in peace. But those are a few considerations that Meshack and I have been thinking about, and that hopefully if you're in the same situation, now you have to think about when it comes to deciding whether to file your taxes jointly or separately. I hope this video was super valuable for you guys. If you have any questions or comments, or you want to share your experience with filing taxes for the first time with a new spouse, I'd like to hear your experience. I mean, this is gonna be new for us, so leave your comments down below. You guys know we love interacting with you guys and answering your comments as much as possible, so we'll see you down there. Also, if you guys want to cop some Wealth Builders merch, I'll make sure to have a link to our Etsy shop in the description box below, as well as somewhere floating upon this screen. We released some new designs a little while ago that I'm super excited about, and I'm gonna start wearing them in some future videos, so look out for that. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video. This year, he actually contributed to a health. Now let's talk about some other differences between male and. I'll also have the link to our Etsy shop down in the link. Hey Wealth Builders, what's up? It's Akiva. Welcome back to the